ladies and gentlemen, Manoj Atri, your host for today. I am a real estate agent with the Remax Hallmark. We are running late, technical issues, but we were there for quite a while now, but we are here and running at the moment. Our guest speaker, Faisal Garcia, is there with us. Let me get a hi from him. Yes, Faisal, at this moment we start, and so you are there. Just you can say hi. They can
Hello,
hear you
audience.
out. Wonderful. Okay, so I'll start with the monologue that we have generally, and then we will take it to the next level. Okay, so again, thank you everyone for joining today. Let's start with my monologue today. We have been covering the CMHC, Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation step-by-step guide. And in the last two webinars, we have managed to cover step 1 and step 2 with some audio glitches. And today we are on step 3. So we will be going through that particular one. Before we go through that particular one, I'll take 5 minutes to do my real estate monologue. And then we'll jump into home buying step number 3. And we will then take our mortgage expert will be there for us throughout the evening. And he'll be reviewing both the things. He'll be reviewing the home buying step 3 with us. And also in step 3, there is an important element, and this is by Government of Canada, that they have a workshop on understanding credit report and score. And to our amazement, they had very, very good, powerful presentation, almost 50 slides for us or the general public to be reviewed. So we are going to dwell into this one, and at each and every level, we are going to take our experts' feedback on this constantly. So, and we'll see how much we cover in the quarter of an hour. And in the last segment, we will try to do a rent-to-own homes example. That's the where the whole infrastructure is. So the of our format for rent-to-own homes, which we have been doing from numerous webinars now. So we'll try to cover an example on that particular one. So that's our agenda for today. And at this moment, as we have discussed, we are doing home buying step number 3 today. And let me start with our first monologue, and then we will jump into the home buying step by step. Okay, so let me jump into our monologue for the day today. And the main monologue for us for today is the GM plant in Oshawa closing with thousands of jobs on the line. Now, I will take the expert info on this one, and this is going to affect if it goes through. At the moment, it looks like it's going to go through. I mean, it may be shutting down because I hope both the provincial and federal inmost can do something about it and save these jobs, because it is going to affect the province and it is going to affect the region. If it goes as it is going through, it will affect quite a lot of us. The government will be working hard over the next few days to find ways to support the more than 2,500 workers and their families. The reason I'm explaining you this is because, it will affect the real estate in Oshawa. And that real estate in Oshawa will be spilling over in other parts of the city and the province as such. There will be some effect if it goes through. So that is why with this particular monologue, I'm trying to cover what is going on in the car industry, which will have its fallout in our real estate too. The decision is unrelated to trade matters or of the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement. That is what they are saying. And that is what also General Motors is saying, to prioritize the production of autonomous, electric, and low emission vehicles. So they are saying that their whole format is restructured now, global restructuring. And they may go into it. I mean, they're not holding back. Federal and provincial politicians expressed concern for thousands of high-paying jobs at the Oshawa plant, as well as the potential trickle-down effect a closure could have. That is what we are going to concentrate on, that we are expecting that this potential trickle-down effect will take place if the closure goes through. And I mean, the Oshawa operation became a Donald Trump talking point during Canada-US trade negotiations, according to a Toronto Star report about an off-the-record aside during an interview with Bloomberg News over the summer. So it has been brewing there for quite a period of time now. There are some units also in US that are closing. So we are not exactly sure if there is a survival or if this whole thing takes its true form and it is going to affect the region. At this moment, let me take a few input from the mortgage expert and see what he has to say about this particular update. Yes, Faisal. So, GM plant closing in Oshawa. Your thoughts on it?
See, from the real estate point, the whole Oshawa, if you look at the history of Oshawa, the way it was set up was around the GM plant. People working in GM plant bought homes in Oshawa, lived close because, the population grow because of the GM plant. And then slowly all the other small things started to add. So there's a whole, that's a big piece of Oshawa's economy. Now, it's not just Oshawa's economy. There's about 12 or 13 towns around it that also depend on this. So I don't just see Oshawa getting affected. I see Durham region getting affected. In fact, I see some effect on Ontario level.
Yes, it's very true, because that is what I have been hearing in the entire news today, that even one person is losing a job, it's getting affected to 7 or 8 people in the entire format. And it is going to have a very big trickle-down effect. And I mean, I can only give you some synopsis for today. I've been showing in Oshawa, and listing agents now are getting those properties which are listed there. They are getting desperate to sell. So immediately on day one, I could see some effect right away. And when there is an effect in one part, it will have some effect on the rest of the areas too. And most of our clients are also looking in Oshawa. So there is something, and I hope the federal government takes reins on this and puts a very nice spin to it and get it all rolling back. That will be the best for all of us.
It's just that, see, when it comes down to losing a job, for instance, and I'll keep this very short because I can keep going on it, but long and the short of it, a person, let's just say a worker that works in GM plant, buys grocery at a certain place, goes to drink a beer at a certain place, buys cigarettes from a certain place, spends money in a certain way. Now, once that person does not have job, all those businesses get affected. They get affected on a small level. But imagine when your primary customer is clients, workers from Oshawa, GM plant, that is going to affect the corner store, the beers, the pub, the bar that is close by. Everyone.
Yes, absolutely true. I am with you on this one because yes, it is going to affect quite a lot of format in there. Okay,
Yeah.
so now let's get to our next one, and let me get into this main one that we have been working on. So let me guide you guys here. This is the booklet that we are on step number 3. Canada Mortgage Housing Corporation is one of the mortgage insurer and high ratio mortgage insurer, loan mortgage insurance, all covered by them. And this is their booklet and their guide, which we are reviewing. And we have done step number 1 and step number 2 in the last 2 webinars. And today we are heading into step number 3. So that is where we are heading today. And let me open up the step number 3 booklet so that I can then start guiding you from step number 3. Okay. So let's jump into it because we've had a wee bit of a time lag today. And let's get into the home buying step number 3. And that is where we are for today. Okay. Step number 3, financing your home. And we had covered a wee bit portion of it in the last webinar, but the main thing is because of the sound glitches, we are going through a few portion of it again today. So we'll try to be fast, but we'll try to see as much as we can cover on this one. The basic thing that the step number 3 is trying to tell us is that you are financially ready to buy a home. It is an important feature into this particular one. As I had explained you in the last webinar, and in my general, like whenever I deal with my clients, you will not go to purchase anything in the market without taking your purse with you. Because even if you like something and if you don't have your credit cards or your cash, you will not be able to buy anything. Same thing formula applies to purchasing a house. Do not go out to see a particular property if you do not have the pre-approval with you. It is an important ingredient that will save you tons of dollars there. And I will take a small example here at this particular stage and explain it to you that why getting a pre-approval is very, very important to you. Okay, let's discuss a small thing here. Once you get approval done, you will know what your interest rates are going to be. It is very important that you are not scrambling at the end when you have put a condition on a house and now you're within 5 days and now you have to take a decision. Initially, you should know what is your interest rates going to be. What is the maximum amount that you're being able to be approved? How much is going to be the per month cost to you? Can you afford that? What are the things going on? You may be thinking, I'm going to purchase a property for $500,000. But you're only getting approved for 300 or 350. That may change your entire exercise, what to go and look for. So it is very important to get the pre-approval done. How much you can afford, your interest rate, your monthly mortgage payments. Extremely important that you do this exercise before you start doing it. Okay, now there are 2 things in the pre-approval. So it is not like once you have the complete pre-approval, everything is done. The property still has to be evaluated to ensure the price and condition of the home are acceptable to the lender. Very important. So even if you have a pre-approval, they have approved you to go and purchase a property up to this particular amount. At the same time, the lender will also be trying to get an appraisal of the property, trying to get a comparables on those particular property, making sure that the price that you're purchasing it is the value of that particular property. It matches the price and the condition, and that is also that the lender will be looking into it. So though you may have a pre-approval, do not jump into removing the condition right there and then. Have a CMA done, have have a mortgage broker or a lender submit it so that ahead of time, if you are in a multiple kind of an offer situation and things like that, and make sure that you have even the property gets approved for that particular price range. And when we are on this particular pre-approval, I'm going to take a moment and explain you how this particular feature is extremely important when you are trying to be in let's say suppose in a multiple offer situation. Okay, so let's head to an example here. That is what I was trying to explain you to an example. So let's head to an example here. Let's say, why does this pre-approval and becomes important, and how this pre-approval is going to save you some money. Very important, and that's I'm going to explain you with this example. Let's say suppose this particular property is valued at $475,000. It's very difficult to find a property of this nature at $475 these days, but I'm just taking it for an example. So let's work with me, please. This property is at $475,000, and now you are in a multiple offer situation, and you are buyer number one, and you give an offer for this particular property for $500,000 because you are in a multiple offer situation, and now there is supply is less and demand is more. So you go above the asking price, and let's say suppose you offer $500,000 on it. And because you were prudent, you had done your homework, you working with all the right people, with the lenders, with their mortgage brokers and everything, and you were confident enough, and you had removed the financing condition, you had the pre-approval, and you had within the time frame of the multiple offers when they were taking on a certain date, you had enough time to get your financing addressed, and you were smart enough to remove your financing condition. And rest, we're not discussing the other terms, we're just concentrating on the financing condition for this exercise. And you remove the financing condition, and you have an offer of $500,000. And now you're competing with a buyer number two, and his offer is $10,000 more than yours. He is giving $510,000, and there is one thing with it. It has a 5-day financing condition. Now, this is what I'm trying to explain it to you, that the sellers may accept your condition without financing and even at a lower price than the other one with a higher price range. I've seen it nth number of times this is happening. And in the process, you saved $10,000. Now, why would a seller work into accepting a lower offer? On the day of the multiple offer, he had some 5-6 people there wanting to purchase his property, a property which was at $475. He is getting $525,000 more than the asking price, and he now gives it to this particular gentleman for $510 with 5-day conditions. And in next 5 days, he may come back and say, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't get my financing and I have to back out of the deal. And this person who had a firm offer with $500 purchase price, he may have gone and bought some other property. And now the seller may not be able to even sell it at $475. So there are your pre-approval is extremely important to save you money. So from your angle, you have actually saved $10,000. Why? Because you had the pre-approval, you did your due diligence in starting over this whole exercise before you head into that particular one. So that is the reason this particular pre-approval is an important exercise. You will realize that will benefit you down the line. Okay, now let me take you back to our format of the exercise. Okay, so now we are going to go into the next one. And we had discussed this, but we are going to go again, and we are going to use our expert quite a lot on this one. And the first one is, let's give you some basics about mortgages. We're going to give you some basics, not going into the detail of it, and that is called the amortization period. So every 5 years term, or 1 year term, or 3 year term, or 5 year term, maximum up to 10 years term, almost from 6 months to 10 years you can go, but the amortization period remains usually around 25, and our expert will give you another guidance on this particular one. So let's head to him and seek his info on the amortization. Go ahead, Faisal. Amortization period.
Sorry, my switch were off.
No problem.
Amortization period. Depending on down payment, we have, so if it is 5, 10, 15, 19%, of course, CMHC and insurer rules apply, which is 25 years amortization, no exception. But if you have 20% down, you may qualify for 30 years amortization.
Wonderful. So that is what you briefed us last time.
That's one. Another one is I have two lenders that also offer 35-year amortization.
Really?
With 20% down. Now,
Wow.
it's an exception.
Okay.
The file has to be strong and everything has to be in line.
So when you say file has to be strong, that means we are talking about their credit score is very good.
Yeah, their credit score
their
are
debt
good.
is less.
Their debt is less, and they don't have late payments. The only reason, the only item the underwriter or the bank wants to see is an exception for the longer amortization, so they can afford this home.
Okay. And you have seen a few of the files like that.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
I've done multiple of them.
Oh, wow. Wow. Okay. Good to have an expert on this format there. Okay. Now let's head back to our, give me 1 second. Next one is the payment schedule. Yes. And I'll give my, like a small brief on this one. It can be weekly, 2 weeks, once a month. Okay, and I will also add, which I have told numerous times to my various clients, in a year we have 52 weeks. If you go bi-monthly, you have 24 payments. But if you go for accelerated bi-weekly, that constitutes 26 payments. Now, the entire format of these mortgages are set in a way that the last two of those payments, that means the 25th and 26th, they are part that all that amount goes directly into your principals.
Here is the plan is not to pay 2 extra payments.
Usko reload. Yes, go ahead.
So the plan is not to pay 2 extra payments in the hope that you would pay off your mortgage faster and not have enough money for your extracurricular activities. For instance, when you pay bi-weekly, there are 26 payments. But when you pay bi-weekly accelerated, you're paying equal to 28. And if your pay is bi-weekly, you don't have any extra money.
Okay.
So that's
okay.
That's something to keep in mind.
Wonderful.
Cash flow is something like when you're going bi-weekly and weekly to pay off your mortgage faster, it's a great idea, phenomenal, but cash flow is something to be kept in mind as well.
Wonderful. Okay, so now let's head back to our next item, is the type of interest rates. Okay, so again, fixed rate, variable rate, protected or capped variable rate. Okay, now on this particular one, I am a strong proponent for variable rate, because I have seen that even if the variable rate, and this is like from reading numerous articles here, that even if the variable rate fluctuates, it is still better than the fixed rate. And this has been the study shown on one of the newspapers a long time ago, that even in a numerous number of years, whenever you are trying to pick up a variable rate, has been the lower one than the fixed rate. So let's get our update on from our broker expert there and see what he has to say. Yes, Faisal, go ahead.
So variable rate has always been a little bit more, a little bit favorable than fixed rate, of course, because fixed rate, essentially economists are paid a certain amount of money for economists to sort of predict the future and set up fixed rate, which is usually 0.5% to 0.75% higher than variable normally. Unless we are in a rising, rapid rising market, a variable rate has always proven right. For the last 25 years, if you look at Canadian history, variable rates have always been averaged below the fixed rate average. So I strongly recommend variable rate mortgages. However, one thing to keep in mind is, are you able to pay a little bit more than what your typical mortgage payment is? If your mortgage payment is already tight and you don't think you can pay $200-300 more than what your mortgage payment is, I suggest sticking to fix. But that's the only scenario where I do that. If the income is more than one, then I also, that's another point where I strongly recommend variable.
Okay, what is the variable rate today?
So prime
best variable rate.
So prime minus 105. So the way variable rates go is prime, which is 3.95, minus 105. So we're looking at 2.9.
2.90. Okay. And what is the best 5-year fixed rate?
We can get, so there is a special with one of the lenders, which I actually just got a commitment yesterday for a client, 3.39, 5-year fixed. 3.39,
and so the difference is only 0.49.
Yes.
That means 0.5, 0.05, 0.5 rather. So it's not a big difference.
It's not a big difference, no.
And what would be, like on a $500,000 property, like on a 2,500, what would be the per month, $100 or $200?
You're asking me an interesting question. I have never tried to explore that way, but it will take me less than a minute. If you want, you can continue on something.
I mean, I was just trying to figure it out. Like, see, so for basically $100 or $200 extra, you're taking peace of mind.
Exactly.
Okay. So that is what I was trying to understand, like, because the general market is for $500,000 these days. So that is where things are. Okay.
How about this? I already have calculated it.
Okay.
And I'm just on a 25-year amortization. Let's say I go 2.9 and I go 3.39. The monthly payment is 234. Not a whole lot different. 2,345 minus 2,473. $128 difference.
Wow. Okay. So on $500,000 property, so you're talking $128.
$500,000 mortgage.
Yes, $500,000 property or a mortgage. Mortgage $500,000. So another 128. Yeah, with $128, I mean, like in case if you are not in the market, knowing all the ins and out, you can have a peace of mind. So it's not a big difference that we are talking here.
Absolutely not.
Okay. Okay, makes sense. Okay, so now our next topic would be mortgage terms, which we have discussed, 6 months to 10 years. And now, again, open mortgage and closed mortgage. Let's take an update from him. So what are we talking on the open mortgage and closed mortgages format?
So, open mortgage is they are these are the terms used interchangeably, and not everyone has not everyone has the full understanding of what they are. Now, open mortgages are for clients that only want to hold the property for a short period of time.
Okay.
So,
Okay. So that is comes into like the 6 months period kind of a thing that you were explaining.
exactly.
Okay.
Three months, 4 months, 6 months. At 7 to 8 months mark, it becomes not worth it.
Okay. So when you say 3 months, 4 months, is there a mortgage you can get for 3 months?
Yeah, those are open mortgages.
Okay. Open mortgages. So anything you say open mortgages would be good all the way from 2-3 months to almost 7-8 months.
Yes. At that point, it becomes not worth it.
Not worth
You
it.
might
Okay.
you might as well would have gone for a variable rate mortgage, because when you discharge a variable rate mortgage prior to maturity, you pay 3 months interest.
Okay. Okay.
And the interest difference between the open and the closed is enough for it to the calculations add up pretty fast.
In short, a smaller number of months. If you're trying to flip it over for 3 months or 6 months, better to go with an open instead of going for a
Exactly.
fixed one. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's head to our next one. Okay. Conventional mortgage. Now, this was the one that I had discussed in quite a detail on our last format. And a conventional mortgage is where you are paying more than 20%. So your down payment is 20% or more. And that would be a conventional mortgage. And now the high ratio mortgage insurance is the one where you are paying less than 20% down. So now let's say suppose you are giving 5% down payment. The banks are only going to loan 80%. So the difference of 15% comes through these high ratio mortgage insurance companies. And at this moment, we have 3 of them. And let me see if I can take you to an example, because this is also what we were dealing last time. And let me take you there so that I can walk you through some of this format of the high ratio mortgage insurance, which I had also covered in one of my other webinars. So anytime when you are doing less than 20%, that is where we will be doing a high ratio mortgage insurance. A mortgage in which a borrower places a down payment of less than 20%. CMHC, Genworth Financial, and Canada Guaranty are the 3 high ratio mortgage insurers at the moment. Is that correct information, Faisal?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Now let's go through a simple example so that you can understand where exactly things are. And the reason I'm explaining it to you here on this particular one is because sometimes you will see a number and you will not be aware what is happening with my mortgage here. Okay, so I'm going to take an example and explain you this high ratio mortgage insurance format. Let's say suppose you're trying to purchase a property for $500,000. So the property purchase price is $500,000. Simple write up, nothing major here. And the banks are only going to give you 80% of the purchase price. So they are giving you $400,000. You are putting down 5%. So now you would be expecting, and the banks are now paying the balance of the payment. They 400 is by bank. You are putting down 25, and this high ratio mortgage amount is around close to 15%. And this is what they charge you for. And let me first walk you through the charges that they charge you so that you can comprehend that, and then I'll explain you something else on this one. If your amount is 5% all the way up to 9.99%, they're going to charge you a premium of 4% of the purchase price. If your charge is between 10% and 14.99%, they're going to charge you 3.1% of the purchase price. And now, if you're between 15 and 19.99%, the premium is close to 2.8% here. Now, why does it become interesting here is, that is what I'm trying to explain it to you. This is not understood. You have purchased a property for $500 and you have put down $25,000 as your down payment. You would be now thinking that my mortgage should be close to $475. But you will then see the mortgage close to being around $494 to $495. Why? Because this 4% has kicked in, and that gets added to your mortgage. You can pay it as a separate amount, but most of the time it gets added to your mortgage. That's the option that is available there, and that is why you will see your mortgage amount being equal to $495 instead of $475. And that is where you have to be aware of this high ratio mortgage insurance, because you sometimes forget about why is this charge coming, and that is the reason I wanted to take a clear and with an example, so that you can understand and comprehend this high ratio mortgage insurance. Okay, prepayment options. Interesting again. Now you can make extra payments, and sometimes the rule is 10 and 10. That means you can increase your per month amounts by 10%, and also once in a year you may be able to pay 10% extra. So let's head to our expert there and ask him about this prepayment options. Yes, Faisal, prepayment options.
Prepayment. So there's two different types of prepayment. One is where you increase the monthly payment, where you're most times allowed 10% as increase. Some banks allow 15. Some even allow you to double up the payments.
Really? All the way?
Yes.
100%?
All the way 100%.
Wow. Okay.
And there are banks that allow 10% of the principal once a year. There are banks that allow 15%, and there are the ones that allow 20%.
Okay.
Now, it all depends. Some banks will allow on the anniversary date. Some banks will allow calendar year. Really doesn't matter if you put down more than $1,000. They'll add up those extra payments and lump it together. So there's many different ways to pay down your mortgage faster. And a lot of clients exercise that option, specifically a lot of actually our client, because when they buy, they're buying a first home, and at that time their incomes are, mediocre. But then as you get settled down, you become an expert in your industry, you tend to go for higher paying jobs, which gives you extra payment, a bit of extra money where you start putting it towards the mortgage. It's quite an often exercised option.
Okay. Before I jump, and the last point was the portability. So give me a brief on the portability.
Portability. Portability essentially means, in a nutshell, you sell a home, you buy a new home, and you take the mortgage with you.
Wonderful.
Okay. Now, one caveat to this rule, have to be careful, is when you sell and buy a new home and you're moving your mortgage over, you have to requalify.
Oh,
and
okay.
You have to requalify with new rules, not the old rules.
Okay. So that would be quite an exercise for one, if
Exactly.
there is quite a change in the format there.
Exactly.
Okay, wonderful. So let me head back to the format there. So basically, again, portability is very important, and the main thing here is, if by chance you purchased a property and you have a mortgage for fixed 5 year, and now within 2 or 3 years there is a change in job, there is like extra income that has come in over, your scenario has completely changed, and now you're wanting to move over without paying the penalty, if you can be able to port your mortgage, if you have those options in your things. The reason why I'm trying to explain you this particular is that even in these one page, we have just covered one page of the guide, and you can understand there are enough nuances to your mortgage, and you should be able to understand these basics and sit down with a mortgage broker, sit down with him, sit down with your real estate agent, and he'll be able to guide you with a few of them, and the details can be given to you with your mortgage lender. And the mortgage broker, he can get you some insight from the lender, what they are working on. And it can, these things are essential to you to understand before you go and start looking for a house. And that is the reason we are trying to walk you through this particular guide. And that is where, again, CMHC is hampering on this particular idea. Don't leave home without them. Okay. This is like, so you should know your mortgage basics. And now we are on the next information is, when you are going and meeting your lender, or you're going and meeting your real estate professional, these are some of the information they will need in order to guide you perfectly. Contact information for your employer. They will need this, and they will need your employment history, your job letter, the full information about your employer. It is required. Proof of address. Where are you living? And are they matching with your IDs and things like that? Those things have to be, you have to have your proof of address. The government issued photo IDs with your current address. Yes, they will need those. Otherwise, let's say suppose you go and put an offer and your IDs are not matching each other, it will become an exercise in itself. Proof of income, your pay stubs, your T4s, your job letter, proof of income for your mortgage. Yes, you will need all those things. Have them. Notice of assessment. How much have you declared last year? Those are some of the things that you should keep before, and just compile them. You will need them for getting your mortgage approval done. Proof of down payment. The lenders would like to see that money is in your bank account. How many days it is there? How did you reach to this particular amount? And they would like to have a proof of saving and investments. Details of current debts and other financial obligations, absolutely a must. You may get approved on the basis of your income to a certain amount, but then your debt may bring it down. We see it on a regular basis. That is where an expert mortgage broker comes in handy. He will guide you what exactly you need to do so that you can qualify for a higher amount. The reason you need to be approved for your maximum amount is you may purchase any property below that amount, that's okay, but you cannot cross that amount. So that is where you need to know what exactly is the amount that you will qualify for. Let's take our expert's opinion on a few of these, and if he needs to add a few more. Go ahead, sir. Contact information for your employer.
Yes, I saw your list and it's just phenomenal. I wish I could take a picture of it.
Yeah. This is like a guide.
Every small thing that changes the amount approved, or when clients come to me and say, "Oh, I'm pre-approved by TD," or any other institution. I sort of go through every small checklist, and sometimes I get questioned as to, well, bank has approved me. Why can't you approve me? And they didn't ask for any of these documents. So it becomes challenging for me, but at the same time, client appreciates at the end because all of these small things. Down to the amount they pay on student loans. All of this affects their approval, proof of income, down payment, savings, amount of debt, everything. How often they've changed their addresses, how often they've changed their employers, what was the reason, are they switching from one industry to another, everything gets counted.
Yes, because in the end, they are going to go through the whole 9 yards. The proof of address, I mean, it has to match. Have I missed on something at this moment? Is everything going on okay, or something has just gone down? Okay, let me check if everything is going okay. Seems like, yeah. Okay, now let me, yes, the proof of address is equally, like they have an ID which has a different address and they are living at a different address. That is going to be a problem at that. Even if we go put an offer, do everything, at the time of closing it will become an issue.
Yeah, absolutely. All of it. Every small thing becomes an issue, and it needs to be clarified before, because once a lender who is going to give you the mortgage funds starts to ask questions, and then I have to find out from the customer an answer, I usually don't like that approach. I like to ask everything, underwrite our own files, make sure everything is in line. So as you said in your presentation before, they will save money because
Yes,
they
yes.
are pre-approved, and to the point, like, how deep we can go. We've done everything. Once the client signs the commitment, we're not asking for documents and this, and like, just the experience is just different.
Government issue photo IDs. So you generally require 2 photo IDs, is that right?
No, not necessarily 2 photo ID, but has to be both government ID, and it cannot be health card. So a driver license and social insurance is good. A driver license and a passport is good. Passport and citizenship is good. One photo ID for sure. Another one can be a secondary ID, and it does not even have to be another government ID. It can be one government ID, another one as a credit card,
Okay.
or a debit card with their name embossed on it. So things along those lines can also be considered as ID. There are alternate ways of collecting IDs. So if someone is short of an ID or so, we can work with them.
Wonderful. Okay, so now let's head, because we are almost reaching our 1 hour mark, and I would like to have this one wrapped up, and this is where I am going to give them an insight here. So we have given the mortgage loan insurance amount with that example, that whenever you're paying less than 20% down payment, you are paying a mortgage loan insurance, and I've given you the breakdown. Again, let me just head back to that breakdown. There I go. Give me 1 second. And the breakdown was, 4% for anything less than 10%, between 5 and 9.99, between 10 and 14.99 we go all the way up to 3.10, and between 15 and 19.99 we go to 2.80 of the purchase price. So that is the update on this particular one. And let me go back to the my PDF. So that is where it is. In general, the smaller the down payment, the higher the premium insurance will be. Absolutely, that is what we have been seeing throughout. Okay, so I have just, let's see if I can get my stuff rolling. I probably have run into this is how interesting things get, is I've just ran out with my batteries. Let's see if I can get it running for a few more seconds. Yes. Okay. So now we have, this is tips for planning and managing your mortgage. When financing a home, make sure you're prepared to deal with any challenges that come up. They include loss of income and higher rising interest rates. Yes, we discussed this particular with you. Very, very important that make sure you are covered with the loss of income and the rising interest rate. Choose a smaller mortgage. So do not go to your absolute maximum. Try to remain within like slightly lower than your budget, so that in case there are sudden changes to your income or expenses, you're able to handle it. Evaluate the impact of higher interest rates. So if you have taken a variable rate mortgage, a small increase in interest rates can be challenging for you to handle it. We discussed these particular two things, and that is where we are wrapping it up on this particular basis. Plan to be mortgage free sooner. Yes, try to go for every 2 weeks. Try for the accelerated bi-weekly. You are reducing the number of years. Increase the amount of your regular payment if you can. Do additional lump sum. So do some exercise and make your life easy down the line. Be proactive and ask for help if you need it. Contact your lender or broker as soon as possible if unexpected challenges come to your mortgage payments. Yes, be in touch with your mortgage broker, your lender, and try to explain your situation, and he or she may be able to guide you further on this particular one. Okay, this takes us to the end of chapter 3. And we will keep it and try to wrap it up on this particular note only. It's been a 1 hour, almost close to an hour mark here. And we are with, let me get back to my expert there. We are still running into challenges, but we are trying to make things work somehow or the other. So we need to still put some things together, but we were there, and we have covered this.
You know what it
chapter
reminds
3.
me of?
Go ahead.
It reminds me of the Roebuck home we bought,
Okay.
where your words were, Faisal, the structure is there. You can add the details.
Awesome. Yeah,
So,
things have
we've
passed
got
by
a
quite a
structure
lot.
set up.
Yes.
It's the smaller details that needs to be rectified / altered.
Yes.
So
And
so
yes, with that, yes, I think so. With that we should,
wrap up.
before my battery takes me into a different mode, and let's see if I can, at least probably in the right spirit, close this with my mouse pointer working properly. So good evening again, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining. Thank you, Faisal, for all your expertise there. And the next session, let me see if I can open them and give a brief scenario to them, and then we'll try to call it off. Let me see if I can get this addressed without taking too much time, and this is where we are going to be reviewing for next week. Okay, and this is like a very, very important information that has been put together by the government, and let me show them a few things so that we can understand where it is and where we are going for next week. Yes, I have it here, and let me see if I can now go there, and yes, I have it here with me. Let's see here if I can get it there. Yes. So now this is a credit report and credit score understanding. Let me go there. Yes, this is by Financial Consumer Agency of Canada, and let me also show it at a different point so that everyone can understand where we are, and this will be able to give us some guidance there. I think so. Yes, I have managed to get that. Yes. Okay. Let me show it to you. Go there, and then we will try to close this one out. Okay, and let's see, because this one would be, yes, it's a Government of Canada, and it says workshop on understanding your credit report and score. This workshop on credit report and scores is designed to be a standalone set of educational materials that can be delivered by anybody to anybody. So we have gone through these particular 40 or 50 slides, power presentation slides, and they are literally awesome. And that is where we will be taking you next week. And so that the basic thing here is like, this is the report. If you have issues with your credit, if you have an issue with your score, and that is what we will be trying to cover for our next webinar, and that would be our call for next week. Okay, I think so. My battery has absolutely of the mouse has called the day off, so I will try to wrap it up before I am not able to do anything with this. Again, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Faisal, again. Thank you for your being there.
Thank you again.
Wonderful. And we will call it a day today. Go ahead.
Thank you again. Thank you, audience, for listening to us. And yeah, we'll see you again next week.
And you have gone through that credit report and score power presentation.
That's a very interesting one. I can't wait to comment on it. It's got lots of knowledge. Lots of it.
Tremendous, lots of knowledge.
Almost overwhelming. You have to take the pieces out and digest slowly.
But I found it even very simple. It was not complicated. They have made it very, very simple for general public to understand and do everything. Wonderful. Yep. On that note, let's call it a day, and we will be there for next Monday, and we will see everyone then. Thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Faisal. Bye.
Bye-bye.